of course, the key question now seems to be whether these job losses in the millions will turn out to be temporary or more permanent.
Hi, morning. Thanks for having me on the show. Yeah, you're right. So we are looking at around 25 million jobs to be lost across the ASEAN 6 countries. And we think that the jobs recovery this time will lag behind the GDP recovery. We are looking at GDP to recover to pre-pandemic levels only in 2022, but the jobs recovery could take longer, at around 2 to 4 years. It would be kind of similar to what we saw in the US post the global financial crisis, when GDP took around 7 quarters to normalize to pre-GFC levels, but the unemployment rate took a much longer 6 years. And that's because the duration of this pandemic is much longer than what we've been expecting, and it has a more permanent impact, destruction impact on capital, as well as jobs in certain sectors like hospitality, travel, recreation, as well as consumer-facing sectors like retail and F&B.
So
and hence, I think it's, yeah.
So which countries will suffer the most?
Sure. Across ASEAN 6, we think that countries with the largest job losses would be the Philippines. We are looking at 8 million job losses there, and Thailand at 6 million job losses. That's more than 10% of total employment in those countries. Philippines is really because of it has imposed the most severe and longest lockdown in ASEAN. We already saw unemployment rate in the Philippines jumping to a historical high of 18% in April. Thailand, on the other hand, it's really more because of its high exposure to tourism. It has the largest share of employment in the tourism sector in ASEAN at around 9%. And we are seeing delays in reopening of borders that would hamper the labour market recovery. At the other end of the spectrum, yeah.
Yes, I was just about to ask you, on the other hand, where do you see the biggest recovery?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of the shape of the job recovery, we think that it will depend on a number of factors. So we tried to construct a scoreboard, and we look at factors such as the severity of duration of the lockdown, the length of the lockdown, as well as the expected number of job losses, government financial support for the firms, as well as labour market flexibility. And based on these factors, we think the jobs recovery will likely be fastest in Singapore and Malaysia, really because these two countries have been the most aggressive in rolling out fiscal measures to support firms during the lockdowns, generous wage subsidies, loan supports, as well as hiring incentives for businesses. We know that Singapore has created the National Jobs Council, aiming to create 100,000 job opportunities for locals. Vietnam and Thailand, they have been successful in flattening the pandemic curve, but the jobs recovery will likely be slower, given that government support has been relatively small. And the laggards would really be Indonesia and Philippines. They have been the ones facing the longer lockdowns and are still struggling to flatten the curve.
Right. So in terms of the actual demographics of some of these countries, of course, we've long been talked about how the younger demographic has been, one encouraging aspect of the labour market, right? Does that give them a natural advantage when it comes to recovery?
Yeah, I would think that a younger demographic would be an advantage. So if I were to compare countries like Vietnam and Thailand, for instance, Vietnam has a younger demographic population, and whereas Thailand is an aging population, I would think that the younger group of workers, employers would perceive them as to be more adaptable, given that post COVID-19, the workplace would really have to change. And there would be some skills mismatch for older workers who want to transition from shrinking sectors like retail and F&B or travel to the growing sectors like tech and IT. So I would think that the younger age population would be in a better advantage to take opportunities of the recovery of the job labour market.